Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. After much anticipation, we are here with the Rose Gold Show, formerly known as Heartbreak Hill Podcast. Now, look, at another time, at another date, we're going to get into what happened with Heartbreak Hill Podcast. But for now, what's most important and what's going to always be important is the message for today. Now, look, there's a lot going on right now in the media. Right? Just flat out. There's a lot going on with the Diddy trial. I heard somewhere that they're in deliberations. We don't know what's going to happen. Maybe by the time that this episode ends, we'll have a better understanding or idea of exactly what's going on with that trial. But today's episode, premiering and debuting the Rose Gold Show, is a question. And my team and I decided that moving forward with this show, the topic is going to be presented as a question, right? So like in Heartbreak Hill Podcast, I will come on here and tell you the subject matter and we just go right in. I'm presenting these subject matters to you now as questions, okay? And the question for today is, are you a predator or are you a player? Because based on what's going on in the news, there seems to be a blur in the line between what a player is and what a predator is. Okay? They are two separate things. But again, it's not always clear. So what are you? What are you? Are you a player or are you a predator? I'm going to tell you what each one of those means and the definitions of both of those terms. And at the end, I'm going to tell you what the consequences are for being either one. Keep it locked. Hello again and welcome. If you're just now joining us, welcome to the very first episode of the Rose Gold Show, formerly known as Heartbreak Hill Podcast. Here at the Rose Gold Show, we are bringing cultural awareness to the culture. Okay, that is the entire point of this show. As a culture, as a race, as an ethnicity, as a minority, there are things that happen in our culture that are normalized that we are not aware of. And the purpose of the Rose Gold Show is to bring those ideas out and to make us, first of all, aware of them, aware that we have this issue or this discrepancy in our communities, and then hopefully come up with some solutions about exactly what it is that we can do about those things. So, are you a player or are you a predator? Okay, if you're just now joining us, a little bit ago, I talked about everything that's going on with Diddy in the news, everything that has been going on even before him. We got the Epstein case, just different things that have been going on in terms of what is that line? How do you draw that line in between being a player and being a predator? And are there consequences of both of those? And there actually is. There's consequences for both of those. Now, I want to get right into it. But before we do, just like in Heartbreak Hill Podcast, we got something that we do every week. It's called Daily De Niro. Okay? Daily De Niro is where myself, the host, is going to be bringing you information that is meant to build your mind, build your body, and to build your spirit. Okay? You know what it is. Okay, now there's no better currency that you can have in this world than information. Okay, so we're gonna start it off strong. We got the word of the week. For those of you who don't know what the word of the week is, I started this when I wanted to stop cussing. Okay, I wanted to stop cussing at one point in time. I found myself even cussing on air. Sometimes a little bit of cussing is permissible. Okay. But I had to turn it down now because as you've seen in the intro, we have a TV slot, channel 17, Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. Episodes will be airing. And part of that deal is that this is a family sort of show. Now, there is going to be content, like the video I'm getting ready to show you in a minute. There is content that's going to be on the show that is not for kids, but I'll be sure to say that. Anyway, Daily De Niro, word of the week, came about because I wanted to stop cussing. Okay. And I also, so real quick again, Heartbreak Hill podcast began in 2019. We didn't transition into visual components until 2021, 2022. Okay. So that was another thing. Once I presented myself after a few years of just having my voice, which is where most of my fan base is right now, is through listening. Once I presented myself physically in form to the world, cussing was the number one feedback that I got. That. So I'm gonna try my best to watch it. And in order to help me do that, I became more, how do I say, conscious of the vocabulary that I use. Word of the week today, coercion. Coercion is how you say it, coercion. Okay, that is the practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. Okay, you trying to coerce me into giving you something. Now, what a lot of people don't know, when they think about coercion and you see the definition part about force or threats, that's not always somebody putting a gun to your head. It could be something as simple as I'm going to take away my time and attention from you. That's a threat. It could be something like I'm not going to let you audition. I'm not going to let you sing this song. I'm not going to let you perform. Those are also forms of force. Okay, so it's not always physically violent when you think about force or threats. Okay, coercion is the word of the week. Now, in addition to the word of the week, the chunk of Daily De Niro that I would like to share with you all today is actually not really it's a place. I want to share something very powerful for you before we get into today's episode. Okay, let me show you something. I want to tell you about this place called, I believe it's pronounced Tigray. Tigray, Ethiopia. It might be Tigray, Ethiopia. Okay. I found out about this place when I was completing my studies, my undergraduate and counseling certificate at Bethel University in St. Paul, Minnesota. Okay. I came across this place. I have no reason to be researching Ethiopia unless for some reason I'm going to be, researching like lineage or something like that. So this came about in a biblical context. And let me tell you something special and important about Tigray, Ethiopia. Okay. Outside of being briefly, okay, and when I say briefly, I mean about 12 years, 14 years, something like that, 13 years, something like that. Very briefly, at one point in time, Tigray, Ethiopia was occupied by Italy. Okay, the Italians came to Ethiopia, Tigray, Ethiopia specifically, and they occupied it for some time, but they never were able to colonize it. In fact, Tigray, Ethiopia was never colonized. Okay, Tigray, Ethiopia was never colonized by Europeans, the Spanish, or Italy. In fact, Ethiopia is one of the places, Tigray, Ethiopia is one of the only places in Africa that was never colonized by any outside forces. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what that means like, how the French came into certain parts of Africa and they colonized it. If you go to certain parts of Africa right now, they still speaking French over there. That's because the French came in, invaded, took over the customs, forced their religion. Okay, forced their religion, forced out, their languages, their way of doing things. That never happened in Tigray, Ethiopia. And then why is that important? That's important because Tigray, Ethiopia is where the first whole and complete Ethiopian Bible was found. Okay? Tigray, Ethiopia, which was never colonized by Europeans, never colonized by the French, never colonized by the Italians, never colonized by the Spanish. Okay? This is where the first Bible was found. You will have people tell you throughout your life that the Quran is older than the Bible. No, it's not. No, it's not. Okay? Tigray, Ethiopia is the place where the first complete Bible was found. So if Tigray, Ethiopia was never colonized, okay, it was never colonized by white people, and that's the place where the first Bible was found, how can it be then that Christianity is a European religion? How can it be that Christianity was brought to Africa by the white man? How could that be? That's false information. It can't be. This part of history is extremely important for you to remember, even if you're not a believer, because in my show, my goal is not to make you believe what I believe. I just need you to hear me. You don't even have to feel me, as long as you hear me and you hear what I'm saying. So the next time somebody comes to you and they tell you that Christianity was brought to Africa, you can debunk that with real scientific facts. No. Africa brought Christianity to the world. Now, there may have been times, and actually you can find this in history too, with the Roman Empire, where they hijacked the Bible and they turn it into something else. But even that was unable to do what it set out to do, which was change the narrative of the Bible. And that has not been able to happen, no matter who has been able to hijack it, no matter who has been able to translate the Bible. The core and the meat of it and what it says and what it means is the same. That's the end of our daily De Niro. Just go ahead and chew on that, bite on that, let that sizzle inside of your spirit. Okay? Are you a player or are you a predator? I was hesitant on showing this clip because, first of all, viewer discretion is advised. All right? But I'm showing this clip because I want you guys to get an idea or understanding of what it means. Before I describe and go into my own thing, I want you guys to see what it looks like to be a predator, what it sounds like to be a predator. Okay, viewer discretion is advised on this clip. Let me go ahead and play it for you.
You gotta stop fucking with them hoes that burn you and shit. Why you been fucking with them hoes that they just sent you to the dick doctor, man? Why you fucking with them bitches?
Man, look, man. I think my pussy be there every night.
You what?
I'm fucking with some young bitches though. If it's some young bitches, give me that shit.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, some little young hoes.
Damn.
I'm fucking young shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. For control with these little young hoes.
I'm saying though, so what she give you?
Chlamydia.
Damn, you let that bitch get you like that, man?
I don't know where the fuck this little hoe get that shit from. I'm bogus though, fuck with that little ass girl though. I'm bogus.
How old she was?
Shit, I don't know, shit. 17, 16 or some shit.
How old you is?
32. I'm saying.
Come here.
Man.
Come here. Bring your ass up. Say she how old?
Now, I think it goes without saying that we don't promote violence on this show. Okay? We don't promote violence of any way, shape, or form on this show. I didn't show that video so that you could be inclined to abuse and hit people when you find out that they have done something like mess with an underage girl. Okay? That's not what this show is about. But I wanted to show you that because I wanted you to see how normalized it is for men, especially when they feel that it is accepted by their peers, to deal with women that are significantly younger than them. Now, being a predator is not about all the time knowing that you're wrong. As you heard that man in that video say, he's bogus for messing with somebody underage, okay? In most places in the United States, as a matter of fact, you can date who you want with your family's permission. You can even get married as 16 or 17-year-old. at 17 or 16 years old. But at 32 years old, why are you having sex with a 16 or 17-year-old? It is your duty in your community to protect the women and the children of that community. Even if you are a felon, even if you don't have kids, even if you are not a neighborhood president, neighborhood watch, it doesn't take all of that. You see him beat that man up. Now, I don't know if that's going to stop that man from sleeping with underage girls. I don't know. In fact, it's common in Chicago, which is where that video is taking place at. It's common in Chicago for you to be 16 or 17 years old and your boyfriend be grown. That's not unheard of. But what I'm saying is that type of conditional pedophilia, because that's what it's called, where it's accepted by a neighborhood or where it's accepted by a society, nobody says or does anything except for people like that. I want to tell you a quick story, and I'm going to get on ahead to the point. My father, I had to have been about 9 years old, and I had went to Chicago with my dad, and we were standing outside of a McDonald's. Now, my daddy don't really got that many friends. He mostly got people that he grew up with in the neighborhood, and they, these are people that he grew up with. But he has very few friends. But lots of people know my father. You understand what I'm saying? When he goes into a place or he goes out somewhere, man, I'm telling you, it's very rare that you're going to bring Funny anywhere in Chicago and they not going to know him. Okay? Particular time, we standing outside of McDonald's. And this guy walk up to him. And the guy, you know that he's older because all of this is like salt and pepper. He got like grays, more gray than black, right, in his beard. So you know he's older. He got kind of the wrinkles and stuff. You know he's an older man. He walked up to my dad. He said, "Funny, what's up, Joe? I see you got your daughter out here. Hey," he said hey to me, wave to me and stuff. So my daddy, "What's up, Joe? What you on? What you got going on?" He like, "Oh, nothing, man." His friend. He like, "Oh, nothing, man. I'm finna get ready to get up out of here, pull up on my little move. I got a little move at the flat." Now, at this particular time, I don't know where the flat was, but I'm assuming that it was somewhere on 79th because we went that far. So he's like, yeah, I got a little move, talking about a girl. I got a move at the crib. I'm finna go ahead and pull up on her. So my daddy knows, he just like me. Who your move? You got to move. From where, off the 9? Asking him, is the girl that he got off 79th Street. He said, "No, you ain't gonna believe. It's so-and-so daughter." So my daddy, to this day, I have never seen his face transform the way that it did. But it was like rage and disgust at the same time. So he said, "So-and-so daughter." He said, "Yeah, man, her little young ass is wild and freaky. And she woo. Now, see, this is the thing about Chicago. Dude that I'm telling you about, he was on drugs. But see, the thing about Chicago people, and maybe in Minnesota too, but I can only speak on my experience where I grew up at. You can't really tell sometimes that they on drugs. I know personally, I could look at somebody and tell. I'm not gonna lie. I've been around addicts my entire life. Seriously. I have been around people that do drugs outside of smoking weed. So I can detect when it's something out. It's like a look in the eyes, really, even if they sober. But in Chicago, the thing is that the culture there, you can't be like bummy just because you're a crackhead. Some of them, you'll have that, but there's a large population of drug doers in Chicago that you can't tell. This is one of those guys. Even though he's older, you can't tell because he had a car. He fresh to death. He had on a Nike outfit when I see, you know what I mean? My daddy, y'all, this was like something off a movie. My daddy stole on that man. Do y'all hear when I say stole on him? I was a kid and I can still hear the crunch. It was like a crunch when he hit him in his jaw. Stole on him. And dude fell off. And my daddy kept hitting him. And while he was hitting him, he was like, "So you like girls? You like kids? You like kids?" He kept saying that. hit him probably about 6 or 7 times, and he was like, "Come on, Pooka," and we walked off. Okay, why am I telling that story? Why does that matter? Why did I show the clip? I'm saying that to say that until we as a community, and it does not have to be beating somebody up, until we can get a clear line between what a predator is and a player is, we can't hold people accountable in our communities. That man walked up to my daddy bragging about that girl, and she was underage. His friend, my dad's friend, walked up to him bragging about that because he didn't think that my daddy would care. That means that he does this. He's done this before. This ain't the first underage girl that he's messed with. And there are some of you, I can hear you now out there saying, well, 16, 17, she's old enough to know better. No. Let me tell you something, and I'm going to get into it right now. Whenever there's somebody under 18 and an adult is involved, it is always the adult's fault. The adult is always at fault. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Because some of you that are saying, oh, well, she shouldn't have been being fast. She shouldn't have this. See, you are the same people that got blamed when somebody raped or touched on you. You were victim blamed. So in your mind, you think that when a teenager is approached by a grown man, that she is also equally responsible. No. Absolutely not. Because even if she's sleeping with that man for money, even if she's sleeping with him for whatever reason, she's still a child. Her mind, even if she's mature, because that's an excuse that you'll hear a lot of guys who are dating women that are over 18 but are just way too young for them. One thing they'll try to say is that she's mature. Okay, maturity has nothing on experience. And at 16 or 17 years old, 14, 13 years old, you don't have enough experience to make choices about a grown-ass man, about a grown-ass woman. You're going to hear me like use men as the example, but women do this too. I know women that have slept with men under the age of 18, and they suffered the consequences. I'm going to tell you what those are. Okay, but let's go ahead and get started because we got a lot of game to give, but we ain't got a lot of time. Amen. So there's 5 areas. I say 5 on which you want to judge or where you want to placate whether you are a player or whether you are a predator. There are 5 areas that you want to look at. Okay. Your intentions and your approach, honesty and transparency, your respect for boundaries, consent, emotional impact, self-awareness, reputation, and the impact on Black families. Okay, that's more than 5, but you get the point. Okay, these are the areas by which I am judging whether or not I am, a player or a predator. These are the areas by which you're going to have to do that because there's no set rules. The law says that when you are in a certain position of power over a person, that you have the opportunity to take advantage of them, and therefore you will be a predator if you do that. But that varies from state to state of what that means. So what I'm talking about today, this is a foolproof way for you to determine if this is the player category or the predator category. And again, if you just take a look, for those of you who are listening only across the screen, these are the areas on which you can judge that. Okay. Honesty and transparency, intentions and approach, respect for boundaries, consent, emotional impact, self-awareness, okay, reputation, and then the impact that it will have on families, but in particular Black families. Okay, let's get into it. So, a predator. When it comes to a predator and their intentions and approach to something, okay, predators take advantage of the natural proclivities of a person. What is a natural proclivities? That means that there are certain things that at a certain age or at a certain point in your life, right, where you may be more vulnerable than others. And what predators do is exploit that vulnerability in their intentions and in their approach. So for a predator, they seek control, power, sex, or resources through manipulation. Okay? So when you have a player, their intentions and approach is they seek casual or non-committal relationship. They enjoy the excitement and romance of dating. Okay? They are often clear or semi-clear about their intentions. You can't really be a player without dabbling in a little bit of deception. Now, what is deception? Deception is not lying outright, but it's downplaying the truth. Okay? Players know how to do that without the manipulation or the mental degradation of a person. You can't tell me that you are a true player if you're not truthful about what it is that you want. Okay? So if you have 5 girls and you're dating all 5 girls, you are not a player if you're promising all 5 of them that y'all are in a committed relationship. What you are is a liar. You're not quite a predator, okay? But you are a liar. And liars don't get far. So what that will look like, if you want to be a true player, that looks like this. Telling each one of the 5 girls or 5 guys, I'm not really seeking a committed relationship right now with one person. I'm not really, right now, I'm just getting myself together and I'm just trying to date and I want to see where things go. That's how a player talks. Okay? Do you see how I'm not telling you that I'm dating 5 people? You understand what I'm saying? Don't do that. I'm not going to blow the spot up like that. But I'm being honest with you about my intentions with you is that this is casual for me. This is casual for me, and this is something that I'm doing for right now. Take that information and do with it what you will, but I've told you, I've been honest with you about what my intentions are. Okay? First difference between a player and a predator is the intentions and the approach. Okay? The predator, when I say take advantage of natural proclivities, a lot of times what you'll see them doing is they'll do things like lie outright and deceive and conceal what it is that their true intentions are, but then they'll target the vulnerability. That's really the key in the approach part of the difference between a player or a prayer or a predator. Targeting that vulnerability makes you a predator. If you have a girl and she's 21 and you 41, in the dough, you are taking advantage of her. There is no reason why, if you are over the age of 30, and this is for male and female, there is no reason why, if you're over the age of 30, you should be dating someone less than 25 years old. I know couples that have done it. Sometimes the man is younger. Sometimes the woman is younger. I'm telling you, if they are less than 25, the exception to that is if they are less than 25 years old and then you are also 25 or less than you, then that's different. You understand what I'm saying? But when you date somebody that is so much significantly younger than 25, because something magical happens at 25, whether you recognize it or not, because even if you are mature, you have not lived long enough. As I told you before, experience and maturity are 2 different things. You can be mature for your age. I've been mature for my age my whole life, but experience is different. And when you are so much older than a person like that, they don't get to play fair with you because you are experienced. People have this idea in their mind with the Cassie and Diddy situation that because she, according to testimony, participated in the acts, that she is somehow not a victim. This is why we need to be teaching our children and our boys this. That girl was 19 and Diddy was 37 when they met. Now, that's a lot of years in between. But I just want you to think of, to give you an idea of the type of mental control that he had over her. I want you to think about an 8-year-old, and I want you to think about a 16-year-old. 19 and 37 has a lot of more years than an 8-year-old and a 16-year-old. But I want you to just get in your mind, get a visual on what type of control that a 16-year-old has on an 8-year-old. Do you get what I'm saying? This is why 25 is that magic age, because by 25 years on this earth, you've been through some stuff and you've experienced some stuff. And you have, even if you don't truly know who you are, you have an idea and a certain level of awareness at 25 that you don't have at 19 and 21. And guess what? That older person, they know that. They know that you are a little bit easier to lie to, because you don't have experience with what that looks like in a person when they lie to you, or when a story just doesn't add up. Oh, you understand what I'm saying? So, first difference between a player and a predator: intentions and approach. Predators prey on vulnerabilities of a person. Okay, they seek control, power, sex. They're not just looking to have fun and kick it. They're not just looking to date. They want to dominate. They want to manipulate. They want to control. Second part: honesty and transparency. Most people don't know that there's a difference between the two. Honesty is when you ask me a question and I answer you with the truth. Okay. Transparency is when I tell you without you having to ask me. I tell you truth. Okay. Without you having to ask me at all. I tell you the truth because I think that you should know whatever it is going on, you should know. So I just tell you. Okay. When it comes to the honesty and transparency of a player may not tell the whole truth, but they avoid deep deception. And they're able to avoid deep deception because they use charm to connect, but they don't aim to exploit. You get what I'm saying? So they may use finesse. They may turn on that charm. They may act like they are being Prince Charming, but they're not going to tell you that they live by themselves and they really live with their wife. They're not going to tell you that they single and they know that they off and on with their baby mamas, or they off and on with their ex. They're not going to do that. The exploitation piece is what predators do. So predators are intentionally deceptive. They use lies. See, they don't have the personality. They don't have the charisma. They don't have the ism. You understand? They don't have that. So what they have to do, they have to lie, they have to mislead, they have to trap, they have to guilt they women or they boyfriends into doing stuff. You understand what I'm saying? They're not going to tell a girl, listen, we got to make this money. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, come to my house and live with me. You ain't got to work. You ain't got to do nothing. You ain't got to pay bills. All you got to do is just be here. And then when she get there, they put her on the blade. That's a predator, because you are not relying on who you are to get what you want. You're pretending. Again, being a player, there has to be a certain level of deception, because I know for women at least, sometimes when it comes to that area and you're dating multiple people at a time, the deceptive piece is you're not being forthcoming that there's 4 or 5 other girls. You get what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that a lie is a lie. Don't get me wrong. But there are levels to deception. There are levels to deception. And when it comes to the levels of deception, level 1 is me not telling you everything. I'm not being fully forthcoming with everything that I have going on as far as other people. But I told you what was important, which is you're not the only one, and that I'm dating other people. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Predators don't have that ability. Okay, they use lies, they mislead, they trap, guilt, or manipulate others into doing what it is that they want them to do. Okay, respect for boundaries is the next category. Okay, real players, no means no. If you are gorilla pimping that girl, if you are strong arming her every time she want to leave you, if you are, man, I had a guy tell me that it was marshals at my house to get him up out of there, and I needed to hurry up and come home. See, them type of manipulations tactics that you have going on. If you know is no, you understand what I'm saying? Now, I'm not talking about no as lovers quarrels. You might have somebody who loves you and y'all get into it and they may say, don't call me no more. If you love them, you're gonna call. You're gonna want to get back with them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about real boundaries. I say I'm not comfortable with this. Real P's know that you don't even want a girl around you if she's not around you willingly. Predators don't take no for no. You know what they do? They dope the girls up and put them on drugs. They separate the girl from her friends and her family. They will separate the boy from his buddies and his golfing or his whatever activities it is that he wants to do. They don't know how to respect boundaries. They don't understand that no means no. So what that looks like for a predator is a predator will ignore the boundaries outright. You may say, no, I don't want to do that. They might slip something in your drink anyway. They might trick you. They might have you say, no, you don't want to do it. Okay, I done seen this happen with my own eyes. It happened to me. They might say, okay, Shirley, go talk to her and tell her, put it this way and see if she'll say yes to you. Predatory. It's predatory. Okay. Predators mock or test boundaries all the time, and they may guilt trip or coerce into getting their own way. Okay. Then again, we talked about this in Daily De Niro. Coercion is when you persuade someone to do something by force or by threats, and that's not always violent. Making promises about very important things in a person's life. If you know a person ain't got nothing, and you promising them this extravagant lifestyle, okay, that's coercion. Predators do not respect boundaries. Okay, players do. Okay, the next category, consent and respect. Okay, predators pressure, manipulate, or emotionally corner their partners into compliance. They believe that they are entitled. Predators believe that they are entitled to the time, the body, or the attention of the person that they're preying on. That's the deep belief system behind the predator. They believe that they are entitled to doing these things. That man, that we seen on that clip at the beginning of this episode that got beat up, he knows that it's wrong to sleep with someone underage, but at the same time, the girl is there for the picking. So he took that opportunity and he ran with it. You are a predator if you do that. You are a predator. I feel the same way in regards to women who engage in prostitution or OnlyFans or stripping or anything like that. If she's not doing those things willingly and you beating her up, you know what I'm saying, talking to her crazy, you breaking her down, you are a predator, sir. I know P's that are not predators. That's how come I'm able to say this and articulate this with confidence. True players can make people do whatever it is that they want them to do by willingness. Players know how to make people willingly want to be with them, even though I know you got to line up. Even though I know you got to line up, I know you got to start 5 in a roster, but you so cold at what you say and do that I don't care. That's a true player for you. See, predators aren't like that. They want to pressure you. They want to manipulate. You understand what I'm saying? And they believe that behavior is based in the belief that they deserve whatever it is that they're getting from you. They believe that they deserve that. They believe that fundamentally that that's what they need. That's what belongs to them. Excuse me. Okay? True players, they don't push if someone sets emotional or physical limits. They understand the importance of mutual respect. And Real players seek reciprocation before moving forward physically or emotionally. You are not a true player if that girl or that boy is not a willing participant in your ship. I'm going to leave that alone. Emotional impact. The emotional impact that a player has on whoever it is that they're dating, they might hurt feelings unintentionally. See, usually when I meet P's or players, right, they have a goal in mind. Now, either that's going to be to get some cuckoo, or maybe they want some of your money. Maybe they want you to work for them. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe that's what it really and truly is. But the sauce or the meat to that is that that's unintentional. I'm not meeting you. If I'm a true player, I'm not meeting or engaging and dating these people to intentionally break them down or hurt them. I want what I want out of them, yes. But what the predator does is the predator intentionally seeks to hurt you and break you down so that they can have full control. Because remember, when it comes to the predator, it's not mutual. They want dominance. They want control. That's why they have a prey. That's why you can be 36 and mess with a 16 or 17-year-old. You want full dominance and control. That's why you can be in your 40s and have kids by somebody that's 19, 18, 21. You want full dominance and control. You don't want it to be mutual. You ain't looking for no partner. You want a pet. So in the area, when it comes to emotional impact, true players, they might hurt some feelings unintentionally. That's just part of the game. Okay? But they are not abusive or traumatized. You understand what I'm saying? It's a difference. Predators, on the other hand, like long-lasting damage that you leave with these men and women when you try to break them down, or when you break them down mentally, when you use force and coercion and all of that to get what you want, you break a person down mentally. Leaves lasting effects. The emotional impact of a predator, they leave lasting effects on the people that they're dating. Anxiety, shame, trauma, distrust. The people that they are dating feel confused, unsafe, or gaslit. You know the marking of a true player who has a really solid ship? One of the indicators of that is that everybody on their roster is informed. They are not confused. So everything is running smoothly. I remember my father had 4 or 5 women in one house, and I was with them. Things ran so smoothly in that house. And I'm not advocating for any particular lifestyle. Y'all know, if you don't know, you better ask somebody. I don't believe in polygamy and none of that. I'm just telling you my lived experiences. And I know the difference on how when people are on one accord, on one page, things are smooth. You ain't gonna have them certain type of problems when everybody's on the same page. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody's on the same page. The ship is sailing smoothly because nobody is unaware of what's going on. Predators don't have that. They intentionally cause confusion. They intentionally cause distrust. They intentionally abuse mentally, physically, and emotionally. Okay, next. Self-awareness. All players know that they're players. All P's know that they are P's. Okay? If you're a true player, you're going to own it. And by own it, I don't mean brag. I don't mean tell the world, put on Facebook, I'm a true player for real. No, I'm saying you know who you are. You know that at this point and stage in your life, you want a team, you want a roster, you're not ready to settle down. You have a level of self-awareness in yourself. You understand what I'm saying? A lot of times players will mature out of that because they want a deeper connection. And then if they have wounds, some men and some women, they are players to the grave. I know women in their 60s with 3 and 4 boyfriends. I know men in their 60s with 3 and 5 girlfriends. You understand what I'm saying? It's all about your self-awareness. But true players, they know that they are a player. They know that they're not ready to settle down. They know that they are not looking for a deeper connection as of yet. So what they do is they go and find people, or they're transparent and honest with people so that the exchange can be mutual. See, if you're a true player, you're not going to look for no woman. You probably going to look for somebody that's loyal to you. I don't think that that's bad. But see, you're not looking for women who want a committed relationship, and just because you want some of that cuckoo, you tell her that that's what you want too. No, you're not self-aware if you do that. You're not a true player if you have to do that. If you got a lot to get what you want, you are not a true player. And it's just that simple. Predators, on the other hand, they deny, justify their harmful behavior. Okay? They lack empathy, or they use empathy as control. So empathy is when you can understand or you can feel a person's emotions. You understand what I'm saying? You can feel how they feel, like, okay, I see where you're coming. It's the ability to see where a person is coming from and to feel where they're coming from. Predators don't have that. Like I said, their exchanges are all about control. Their exchanges are all about manipulation. Everything is about them. And that's why they don't get far. Self-awareness, okay? Predators are not self-aware. Players are. Okay? 2 more categories: reputation and perception. So when it comes to a player, a true player, they are seen as desirable, charismatic, but they are seen as emotionally unavailable. That's going to be like the biggest red flag that you'll see in every player, is that they are emotionally unavailable. When you meet a player, it's easy to view them with admiration, because even though they are emotionally unavailable, they know who they are. They have swag. They are desirable because they are walking in a form of their own truth. They're not trying to appear to be no housewife and they know they're 304. You understand what I'm saying? They're not appearing to be money bag, and they know that they work at McDonald's. If you're a man, they're not appearing to be anybody but themselves. And man, you just don't know how powerful. Can I take a breather? I want to take a tangent real quick. You don't know how powerful it is to be yourself. There are people around you. You ever wonder why people are intimidated by you and you're not intimidating? When people used to say that to me, I couldn't understand. Intimidating like how? Do you know one way that you are intimidated by people without even trying? You ain't even got to open your mouth up. You're intimidating because you know who you are. You walk in your own identity. You're not faking. You will be surprised of how many people you are around on a daily basis that wear a mask. They do everything they do is for the aesthetic. They do things they don't like. They go places they don't like to go. They be around people. They wear these clothes that are uncomfortable. They talk about conversations. They participate in hobbies and things that they don't even like, all for the aesthetic. And when somebody who is genuine comes around, that's bothersome. So reputation and perception, players are seen as charismatic, they desirable, they are emotionally unavailable, but that is genuinely okay because everybody who they're dating knows that they're not the only one. So them being emotionally unavailable is not even bad if you are dating them knowing that they're being casual, okay? They are viewed with curiosity, caution, or admiration, depending on the context. You understand what I'm saying? You ever met a player so played out that you just like, I want to get to know them. Like, it's just something about that swag. It's just something about that sauce that I got to get to know. That's what I'm talking about. Predators, on the other hand, when it comes to their reputation and their perception, they are seen as intense, obsessive, or invasive. This is the guys that scare the cuckoo off. You know, when you kicking it with your dudes, your guys, and y'all call over some girls. This is the guy that, he's doing too much too soon, and he doesn't even know that that's making him look like a predator. When it comes to reputation and the perception of a predator, they usually leave a trail of harm or unresolved tension in their past. Every ex that they had is somehow crazy or discombobulated. They don't take accountability for nothing, but they got a trail of broken hearts, a trail of broken homes, a trail of just broken things, broken children, broken family relationships, broken friendships. They are perceived as that, and that's their reputation. Every predator that I know is like that. Every predator that I know or that I have met or that I have seen has that in common. Okay? When it comes to the reputation and the perception of a player, one of the things that you'll notice is that on top of them being, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about this, on top of them being charismatic, desirable, or emotionally unavailable, players are known as players. You understand what I'm saying? They're not known as predators. So if you're talking to a guy and you show your friend, man, girl, this the one I'm talking to on Facebook. We met. Woo, woo, woo. Oh, man, girl, he got hoes for days. You understand what I'm saying? It's known. Same thing with predators, just on a different scale. They said, man, he's creepy. He inboxed me 100 times and I ain't responding. He called me. He don't even know me. Obsessive, intrusive. Okay? Last but not least, the impact on the Black family. The players' impact on the Black family is that players contribute to hookup culture, which is very detrimental to the Black community. Being a player can cause frustration because what you have to notice, especially about women, if you're telling them that they're not the only ones you're dating, some of them are going to get into competition mode. Okay? And when they get into that mode, that competition mode, that can cause some frustration, not just for them, but for you too. You know, that can get like that. Okay, so you may call, that's the impact on the Black family. It contribute when you are a player. The impact on the Black family is that you contribute to casual sex, which leads to broken homes. Okay, and then you also may leave being frustrated, have other people being frustrated. When it comes to the impact on the Black family or just families in general that a predator has, damage, mistrust, and fear. Toxic dating environment. Normalization of control-based behaviors. See, if that man didn't, when I showed y'all that clip at the beginning, if he didn't steal on him or do anything or even say nothing about that, he would have been contributing to the problem. And predators will often normalize that type of behavior in order to not be held accountable. So you see how at the beginning of that video, he was talking about having sex with that underage girl like it was just, man, I'm bogus, but hey, it is what it is. You shouldn't feel like that. You shouldn't feel like that. And I want to be clear by saying that I know that there's a difference between having an age gap in a relationship, because the age gap is not the problem. The age gap is a symptom of the problem. See, a 30-year-old and a 42-year-old, that's a 12-year difference. 16, 17, and 36 or 32, you bogus. It's too big of a gap for that age. Less than 25-year-old, it's too big of a gap for that age. 19 and 40, 37, and she's 19, you bogus. And I want to say this too. Oftentimes you'll hear people push back. And they'll say, because when you hear women on the internet talking about older men dealing with younger women, they don't paint it out like how I'm doing it right now as the difference between a predator and a player. They get a lot of pushback from the men because the men are saying, hey, you know, you just mad because you old and we prefer younger women. And to a certain degree, that's true. You have internet trolls that, you know, disguised as women on TikTok especially, and they may say something like, man, he dating that young girl because he don't want to apply no pressure to her. I mean, he don't want no pressure, so he can't get somebody his own age. One of the ways you can tell if that's really a bitter woman and she just mad is because the only thing she gonna talk about is bills. If that's your only justification of why dating somebody less than 25 and you're over 30, if that's your only justification is that he don't want to pay bills, there may be a part of you that's bitter. And there is a part of you that's true, that's true. I've seen it where older men will go younger because she's not expecting anything. To a certain extent that's true. But if that's your only concern and that's your only evidence that he's mad, he don't want to pay bills, then you may be a little bitter because it's much bigger than that. I know men in their 50s dating women in their 50s and they don't pay bills. So it's deeper than that. It's about this. It's about that thin line between being a player and being a predator, because there is a thin line. Now, what are the impacts? The impacts of being a player. What are the consequences of that? Because I don't want you to leave. I'm not saying this so that you can think that one is cooler than the other, because there are consequences for both. There are consequences for spending your youth from your 20s to your 50s. There's consequences for being a player all that time. And I'm going to tell you some of them. Broken homes. You perpetuate the cycle of broken homes when you play a lot. When you constantly are dating multiple women, even if they are okay with it, because you're not using condoms with all these girls. I don't care who you are, what you're saying. You're not. And that evidence is true because of how many kids are born in 1 year to one man. Look that up when you get a chance. And see, I want you to look up how many kids on average are born to one man and within a year's time. And you'll see what I mean and how I'm able to confidently say without being in your bedroom that if you're a player and you've been a player for a long time, you're not using condoms all the time. Another consequence that I think is even more significant is that you damage your defense against lust when you are a player for a long amount of time. I know guys who are ready to settle down. I know them personally. They want a good girl to settle down with, but they can't do it because they've developed an appetite. See, being faithful to one woman, that is a spiritual and a practiced skill. That's something that's not just something. You don't just stay faithful to one woman because you love her. That's not how lust works. And see, what happens is when you keep on doing that, when you keep on having sex and you putting that Band-Aid on and you ripping it off, you putting that Band-Aid on and you ripping it off, pretty soon that Band-Aid stops sticking. Pretty soon that Band-Aid is going to stop sticking. And what happens when that Band-Aid stops sticking is that even when you meet the girl of your dreams, you can meet if she bad. Not only is she a good girl, she a freaky girl. She got her own money. She might be funny. She might be pretty. She might have a body. She might got it going on. But you can't be faithful to her because you don't know how. You have damaged your ability to appreciate and be faithful to one person because you've spent your time in playerism and in the ism and being a P, and now you've damaged that nerve. Another thing is that when you are a player for too long, when you are a P for too long, you lose sight of what a woman is for. See, after so much playing, it's easy for women to become unimportant to you. It's easy to objectify them and only use them for what it is that you want. But it's a reason why the Bible say a man who finds a wife finds a favor and finds a good thing from the Lord. Because a good woman will literally change your life. Do you hear what I'm telling you? Literally change your life. But being a player for too much and too long, you will miss that. You become blinded to what virtue looks like in a good woman. And you start to prefer the hoes, not knowing that that's going to be your demise. The hoes is going to be your demise. Okay? What are the consequences of being a predator? I'm going to tell you something that I know about all predators. Okay? One thing that I know about every last predator that I know, they all have daughters. And if they don't have daughters, they have grandchildren that are girls. And vice versa for the women. Every woman predator that I know, they have sons or they have grandkids that are boys. And see, what happens is when you are a predator, you leave this world in a deficit. See, for every person that you manipulate and you lie to and you coerce and you hurt and you get them to do what you want, you don't get away with that. We live in a transactional world. When the Bible says you reap what you sow, you got to understand that that's different than karma. See, karma says whatever you do to somebody, it's going to happen back to you. Reaping what you sow means if I plant a seed in the ground Okay, let's say I plant a corn seed. I'm gonna plant some corn for y'all. I'm not just getting back a stalk of corn. I'm gonna get a whole little area, a whole little field of corn. You understand what I'm saying? And that's what happens when you prey on people. I can't tell you how many times I've done work in the prison system. I can't tell you how many times I'll get it, or not get, but I'll be a part of an investigation or something like that for a rape behind bars, like a guy being raped another inmate, and then, or maybe, maybe didn't rape as far as force, but like has took advantage of a younger inmate and have turned that younger inmate into their boyfriend or into their girlfriend, rather. And those same people, a year later, 6 months later, they get something in the mail that say that their kids have been molested or raped or touched on. You get those type of notifications in jail. Stay free, fellas, so you can protect your kids. Another piece, but yeah, that's true. I've seen that multiple times. You don't get away with predatory behavior, because even if it's not you that has to pay for it, your kids will, your grandkids will. That debt has to be paid back. We also see this as evidence in the Bible and in the Old Testament. When we look at David, when you hear about the story of David and Bathsheba, most of us were taught that that was some type of love story of adultery. No, Bathsheba was a teenager. She had to have been about 13 years old when David told her to come here and to come into the palace. And at that time, you didn't have a choice. You don't get to decide whether or not The Rose Gold Show is brought to you by viewers and listeners just like you. Thank you. The television portion of our broadcast is brought to you by Speak Minneapolis Network. Please visit the link on the screen for more information on all of the wonderful work that they do. Have a product or service that you would like to introduce to a new audience? Let the Rose Gold Show introduce you to the world. Please send an email to the email on the screen for more information on how we can help you introduce you or your product to the world. Rose Gold Show is now offering one-on-one podcast services. Whether you are just starting your podcast or already have a podcast and are looking for ways to monetize, we can help. Please send an email to the email on the screen for more information on how we can take your podcast to the next level. For all of the hottest accessory and fashion needs, visit thepressure.com.